All right, listen closely to this story. Long ago, in a remote village surrounded by a dense forest, there stood an old house that was said to be inhabited by a mysterious woman. The house was perched on the edge of a hill, with a large window overlooking the village. Every night, villagers often saw the shadow of someone standing behind the window. Even though the house was said to have been abandoned for years, that house once belonged to Nyai Laras, an old woman who lived alone. She was known to be kind, but after her husband passed away, she rarely left her home. Then, one day, Nyai Laras vanished without a trace. The villagers searched for her, but all they found was an empty house with a window that was always open. Since then, every night, the shadow of someone could be seen behind the window of the old house. The shadow stood still, as if watching over the village. No one dared to approach because anyone who tried to look closer would experience strange occurrences, whispers in the wind, an unexplained cold breeze, or even seeing the shadow move on its own. One night, a young man named Jaka, who had just returned to the village after years of traveling, became curious. He heard the story from the villagers and refused to believe it so easily. Perhaps it's just an illusion or a tale to scare children, he thought. Carrying a lantern, he decided to investigate the old house. As he reached the front of the house, the air felt colder than usual. The house looked worn down, with its wooden door slightly ajar. Jaka stepped closer and peeked inside. Suddenly, the shadow appeared behind the window, but strangely, the shadow moved on its own, even though no one was inside. Jaka gathered his courage and stepped inside the house. The old wooden floor creaked beneath his feet. Inside, he found a rocking chair swaying gently, as if someone had just been sitting there. Dust filled the air, and suddenly, a whisper echoed, "Leave, or you will suffer the same fate." Jaka turned toward the window and saw the shadow becoming clearer. He tried to approach, but a sudden gust of wind blew through, extinguishing his lantern. In the darkness, he felt something touch his shoulder. Jaka wanted to scream, but his voice caught in his throat. As the moonlight streamed through the window, he saw the face of an old woman, Nyai Laras, but her skin was pale, and her eyes were hollow. Jaka collapsed to the floor, his body trembling, but instead of running away, he gathered his courage and asked, "Nyai Laras, what happened to you?" The shadow did not reply, but an old book suddenly fell from a shelf. With shaking hands, Jaka picked it up and opened it, revealing pages that recorded Nyai Laras' oath before she disappeared. It turned out that before vanishing, Nyai Laras had sworn never to leave her house until the truth about her husband's death was uncovered. Jaka realized that Nyai Laras' spirit was still trapped in the house. With the help of the village elders, they performed a ritual to calm her restless soul. After the ritual was completed, The next day, the shadow behind the window was never seen again. From that moment on, the old house was left abandoned and, over time, collapsed with age. The villagers never saw the mysterious shadow again. However, whenever the wind passed through the remains of the house, they sometimes still heard a soft whisper